Okay, learners, I think you are still well, okay? Uh, Last time we talked about the influences of the Second World War that was taking place in Europe. Okay, do you still remember what we talked about? Like, let's just recap on what we talked about. What groups that were taking place in the Second World War? Yes, Axis powers and Allied powers. So you can even mention the countries that were taking part under those groups, okay? Let me highlight a very important thing that we're going to talk about right now as we are going to conclude our lesson. The most important thing is that Black South African soldiers had no human rights, okay? Black South African soldiers were what? Had no human rights. So what we're going to talk about right now is what? The Declaration of Human Rights. Okay? So, as we are going to conclude the topic, the lesson that we talked about, so let's first describe what is human rights or what are human rights. Okay, we'll hear at the back. He is saying, she is saying, I meant to say so, she is saying human rights are the moral principles or the norms for certain standards of human behavior and the regularly protected in municipal and international laws. Do you all agree with him or with her? So human rights are the what? Are the norms or principles that guide our behavior, how we behave. So you do something just because you have a right, but you also consider the responsibility of that right. That means what you do must not affect somebody else's human rights. Okay? So I said there were organizations that were made or that were created during the World War II to make sure that there is peace at the end of the war. Okay? So, and those organizations were what? The UNO and the NATO. What does UNO stand for? I said it before. Okay, Lunga? Okay, he's saying United Nations Organizations. You get it? Yes, United Nations Organization. What does NATO stands for? Okay, Lunile. Alright, so he is saying it is North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So we have to focus more on what were the purposes of these organizations, okay? We have to focus more on the purposes, on the aims, why these organizations were being created, okay? So these organizations were created to keep peace in the world, to improve and develop human rights, to improve the living conditions for all people, more especially in poorer parts of the world. Okay? So there was what we call Declaration of Human Rights. Declaration of what? Human Rights. Okay? So Declaration of Human Rights was the response to the violence, okay? To the violence that took place during the Second World War. Okay? I think everybody is still understanding, or we are still on the same page, okay? Alright, so the Universal Declaration was the response of the violence that took place in Europe. I repeat it, okay? Deliberately. So, as the time went on, South Africa did not sign the agreement of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but it kept on being the member, okay? Because whenever you want to be a member, you have to make sure that you have signed the agreement, okay? Okay. So human rights are universal. When something is universal, it means it applies to everybody, regardless of your age, the gender, and the size, or how it's either that or that you are paralyzed or not. but it applies to everybody. Okay? Okay, I'm not going to dwell much about this because we have talked about, but what I want to say is that you have to make sure that you understood, because at the end you have to get an activity based on what we have talked about. Okay? Okay. Okay, let me give you a room. Let me give you a room. Not a room, but a room. That means I'm giving you a chance to ask questions based on what we have talked about. Any question? Any question? Any question? When I'm saying any question, but based on what we have talked about. Okay? Okay? Yes. Michelle? Okay, a good question. Michelle is asking, in which year did the human rights get officially declared to the people? Or when did all people saw that they are now having human rights? Okay, so people started to have human rights after 1945, as the Second World War ended in 1945. So everybody was taken into consideration. Okay? Because I said the leaders met to discuss about the future, to discuss about the peace that they should have at the end of the World War. Right? So I can say all people had the human rights, or the official declaration of human rights was after the Second World War. Okay? Right. Okay. Let's see. I think all people have understood. We're gonna do these activities or this activity. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read these questions. You write a question down, you write its answer. You write a question down, you write its answer. Okay? Listen attentively, because I've got no space so far to write these questions here on the board, and I think you can't see them. So, number one, what are the human rights? List 5 human rights that you know. When were those rights created? Why there was a need to create human rights? Do these human rights work? Do you think these human rights work? Okay, in about 4 lines. Okay, in about 4 lines. Critically discuss how these human rights can be respected by all people in the world, more especially in South Africa, where people are killing women. Remember, I told you about the story that took place in the University of Fort Hare last weekend, whereby a student stabbed and killed his girlfriend, and he chopped that girlfriend and put her in his suitcase. That's so painful. Okay, so you answer these questions. Okay. So I also give you a homework whereby you will write an essay from the start about the influences of the Second World War until here to human rights. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's write. I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna wait for someone to finish and go or come to mark that person. Are we still writing, or is everybody writing? I believe everybody is writing. Okay? Okay. Is there anything that I forget? Right. If you don't understand or you didn't write the question down, I can repeat for you. Okay. I can repeat for you. Alright. Let's hold it here for the day, because also the period has ended. Okay? So when we meet tomorrow, we'll mark this activity and then we do corrections. Thank you.